Hello my friends and welcome. This is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go to Avdiivka, where the situation changed not in favor of Ukraine. Unfortunately, Russia finally was able to take some of the ground, but we have around a couple of days delay in this military map update, so I believe that Russian attack finally was a little more successful than I expected. That's why they've took this field over here and also moved near to Opatna direction. First of all, let's check the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. The slight move, but it happened. Since it is the border with the self-proclaimed Republic of DPR, Ukraine constructed lots of the defense lines near to Avdiivka. We did it for many years to make sure that Russia is not offending from this side. That's why they were not successful at the beginning of the war, even though they tried to move towards Avdiivka, but were stopped. Yes, there is the front line change, but it's not very significant. Unfortunately, with this ground gain, we may say that Russia has another attack vector, or at least had it a couple of days ago. They also moved towards Pervomaisk. Let's check out the update. Yes, it happened the day before yesterday, and it is today they took this field. All of those fields before Avdiivka creates the buffer area full of mines, so for Russia it's not easy to move across those. On the north, however, there is no movement from the Russian army. They were completely stopped, and today again we have many more videos that our guys filmed a couple of days ago and also yesterday. I'm unable to show them to you on this platform, so to be updated constantly, please check out my Telegram channel, where I upload something that I'm unable to upload over here. The link is in the video description. Alright, so is it the chance for Avdiivka to become the second Bakhmut? The situation is very similar to the last winter for Bakhmut city. Yes, there is the chance, but it's very small. If Ukrainian command doesn't make mistakes out there, it wouldn't happen. I mean big mistakes, and judging on the current situation, Ukrainian defense is really efficient in Avdiivka. Our guys were able to cause Russia record significant losses, so Russian army lost the morale advancing near to Avdiivka. For Russia, without the Wagner forces, I don't think that they will be able to get this town under control. But according to the British intelligence report, Russia created one more PMC based on Wagner soldiers. It counts around 7,000 of personnel. This is the smaller organization compared to Wagner, but still could be capable. The private army name is Redut, and it was already in Ukraine for a very long time, but they had just a few hundred of the soldiers. Now thousands of them. This army is not in opposition to the Russian Defense Ministry. They've been ruled by the Russian Defense Ministry, which makes them less effective. Remember the outlaw Prigozhin. Because of his more or less independent command, Wagner was successful. But we have some of the good news from the Bakhmut area. Ukrainian forces are advancing towards Zelenopilya, taking more ground. Yet there is no update on a deep state military map resource, but here we have it from the other resource. Zelenopilya is basically the same with Kurdymovka. They are divided by the railroad, and the Ukrainian army already has crossed the railroad and established the control over the nearby ground. However, as you can see, all of that is the gray area where the fighting is still ongoing. Russians could be also over there. So I believe that the next move for Ukrainian army would be to take control over Kurdymovka and Zelenopilya. Finally, Ukraine is liberating the villages, or what is left from them. Because, for example, Andriivka doesn't exist any longer. There is no any house in that village. And here we have the confirmation from the Avdiivka direction. Russia definitely took the ground. They advance from this place, and Ukraine performs the surveillance and also artillery job on the Russian positions. And this is, as I told you, the new vector of the Russian attack. Previously they wanted to attack from this side, also from the north, to encircle Avdiivka, but here is the new vector directly towards the city. Russia also tried to advance towards Markiivka, but without visible success. Ukraine also takes the ground near to Klishivka, expanding the bridgehead, and the next step probably would be to advance towards Opetne on the south from the Bakhmut. And Ukraine successfully expands the bridgehead near to Robotyne village. The Ukrainian army almost completely stopped advancing on the south and now advancing sideways to the east and to the west, because there is still the risk that Russia may attack from those positions, because they have defense lines in that area and also some reinforcements. More and more footages of the wasted Russian vehicles appear in internet. It was a huge mistake from their side to advance with such a big forces. Here you can see the T-72B3, the most popular Russian tank. And this is one more photo of the Russian convoy, which was completely ambushed by Ukrainian artillery. I'll just read you out the messages of one of the Russian commanders who participated in the battle for Avdiivka recently, the October 10th, so 1 week ago. Since yesterday we were preparing for the assault mission near to Avdiivka. That's why I wasn't able to publish the information over here. I took it from his Telegram group. In the morning we start the assault. What I can say, I haven't seen such an artillery fire in my life. He means the Russian artillery fire. Before the assault, they start to bomb Avdiivka with everything they had. He says about Grads, Smerch, aviation and bombs. Even he himself partially lost the hearing because of their artillery fire. Our group, he said, worked fine. We are now taking rest. Some of the other groups are on assault. We push Ukrainians from many of the directions. And what happened yesterday, on the 7th day of their assault. Guys, that's it, we are in the dead end, we cannot move forward. If we move, they start the artillery fire from everything they have. The positions which we were able to take are constantly under the cluster munition fire. Thanks God we have the rain now and Ukrainians are unable to use their drones for surveillance. But our side is blind as well. But they still use the cluster munition very effectively even during the rain, and we are out of the cluster shells. We have a huge problem with the counter-artillery operation. Yes, because you are in lack of the counter-artillery radars. Our guys on the very first front line are unable to move and even raise their heads from the ground. Where is our artillery, Solntsepeks, Uragans? Just get rid of the enemy infantry. Help us, because it's impossible to hold the taken positions. If there is no the same artillery fire as it was during the first day, it means that we are doomed. Without the heavy artillery, we are not able to win. So definitely it is the big waste of the Russian army by themselves. They were planning to get Avdiivka, encircle it just in a few hours using the huge artillery resource. But they should have planned to use that artillery resource not just in a couple of hours during the first day. No, they should have had that resource for a very long time, but they're now out of the options of what to do next. I expect that Ukraine may even go on a counterattack near to Avdiivka if that situation for the Russian army continues. Our guys and kaboomed Russian T-90 tank. Speaking about the tanks, by the way, I think that in the future we'll have the problems with those in Ukrainian army, because allies provided us with the Leopard 2 tanks, Challenger 2 tanks. Those are awesome. Abrams are also coming, but there is no certainty that Ukraine will get more of those new tanks. We're gonna have this one, Leopard 1. And honestly, I don't think that this tank will be effective on the front lines. It is that old, it has no armor even compared to the Russian T-72. It might be penetrated by mostly everything on the front lines, including the standard tank shells of T-72, and on the side it might be penetrated even with the automatic guns from some of the armored vehicles. Also, it has the same problem as T-72, the shells are located inside the tank. For Leopard 2, yes, some of the shells might be located inside, but most of them are located on the aft part. There it is the ammunition compartment with the special blown up panels, so even if it is targeted, crew survives. Here it will be the same as for T-72, unfortunately. Plus this tank is much bigger compared to the T-72, and it has the very old gun 105mm, which according to data may penetrate the tank armor not more than 460mm. The problem is that this part of the Russian tank, the upper part of the base, has more than 500mm thickness based on the angle. Plus it is the combined armor, it's not easy to penetrate. The lower part of the Russian tank is more vulnerable, but it's hard to aim there. The turret itself is quite small and it also has the nice armor. So with 105mm gun, the only place where this tank might be penetrated is somewhere over here, or on the side or in the back. But how is it possible for the Russian tank to appear in front of the huge Leopard 1 from the side? I don't think that it is really working scenario for this war, because surveillance shows everything. But there are three of the advantages of this tank. Even though it is big, but it's quite light for the size, it also has the powerful engine and it is very reliable. However, I'll put the last one under the question because it is based on the way they were stored for decades. So I guess that they will be used to support infantry by fighting with the Russian infantry vehicles. That's it. The high speed might help this tank in that particular task. Today one of the Russian channels published those photos. This is the German tank from the World War II, but it was just recently hit near to Crimea on the Russian side. I guess that Russians were using this tank as the dummy. But if you look at the caterpillars, probably this tank was moving by the time it was hit. A very strange thing, actually. Russia started to convert the museum airfield into the military one. I was there. It is in Luhansk. The Luhansk International Airport was totally destroyed back in 2014. However, the museum airfield is still available, but it has the very terrible runway that requires repairs. There was the small part of it which was repaired by the drag races long time ago, so they did their competitions there. And Russia put some of the Capaniers with helicopters or maybe even Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes. They do not require the very nice runway for their takeoff and landing operations. There is some issue with the counting of Ukrainian losses by the Russian officials. Putin said that Ukraine lost 18,000 armored vehicles, tanks and other stuff since the beginning of the Ukrainian counterattack, so since June. Shoigu said that Ukraine lost 1,500 vehicles. Well, it is hard to figure out the real number, but according to the Oryx resource, Ukraine lost 4,000 with something vehicles. Sorry guys, I am unable to check that number, the exact number just right now. But it is not since the Ukrainian counteroffensive, it's for all of this war, for the last year and for this year. Russia restored and opened the new bridge to Mariupol. They don't need it for the city itself, they need it for their supplies, to supply their group on the south. Before it was cut by the Azov regiment because Russia used it as the advancement line for Mariupol. To some international news, here you may see lots of the Israeli tanks and they start to put those grills on the top against the drone attacks, so it appears that this is the very effective defense. The Ukrainian side also sometimes put that stuff on their tanks, but it was invented by Russia at first because Ukraine used javelins. Mostly it is not helping against the javelin attacks, but against the drone drops it might help. There's some news about the situation in Israel, however those are not very significant for me to tell you over here. I post them mostly on my Telegram page. In a couple of words, the weather is still cloudy for them to use the drones for their massive assault on Gaza. A strange situation is happening in Brussels. Some suspect just killed 2 of the Swedes, then took the scooter and started to drive all across the city. Police is unable to capture him for more than 4 hours already. I don't understand why police is not acting effectively. Finally, the elections in Poland are over, so Ukraine will have further support from the parties which won their elections, and there will be less destructive talks between our politicians, let's say. My friends, now don't forget to press the like to this video. Also, if you want to support my channel, there will be some of the links in the video description just below for you to do so. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. Guys, you are awesome. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.